What's up, everybody? This is Rich, the side-eye stitcher, coming at you this week with my weekly update. As you can see, we're in a new environment here. I spent most of the last week doing a deep clean of my living arrangements and rearranging where everything was at. I moved my desk. Actually, I got a new butcher block top with some legs for my desk, and then I turned what was my desk, which was essentially a big workbench, into my new workstation that's got my cutting mat, my sewing machine, the lights, everything fits, and it's quite nice. So because of that, there hasn't been a whole lot of progress on a lot of things, but I do still have quite a few things laid out in front of me. We could start with the cross stitch. I only worked on the one again this week. It's just the wolf. I'm still making progress. It's just slow. Like I said this week, I spent so much time moving things around that between this and the Sashiko Sampler that I've been working on, I've been watching a ton of YouTube videos to try and get a little quicker at this because I was going really slow and it was just taking a long time to get from one side to the other. But I watched a couple videos and I just wasn't loading the needle up enough. I'm going to do something a little more in-depth with this later on once I get a little better because I really enjoy doing this. That's it for stitching, for cross-stitching, the Sashiko. I did do quite a bit of quilting this week. Now that I have the new desk, it's been quite nice. I really wanted to get back into the English paper piecing, so every night I sit down and I try and knock one of these out. And it's just a solid or a print that I've got that's left over from something random, and then a solid that kind of complements it. And I've got green, and then I'm currently working on, I've got a blue that is a really pretty blue, and I just started that one this morning. I haven't made any progress on it, but I picked up the Tula Nova by Tula Pink pattern, and I mentioned this last week, and I'm super excited about digging into this one, but I hadn't decided on what fabric I wanted to use for this project because getting the Tula Pink is kind of expensive in my area, and the selections are kind of limited. I did find a different fabric collection that's by Elizabeth Elliott. She's a fabric designer. I think it's through Andover, but she just released a new collection I believe it's called Phantasms 2, and it's amazing. And I think that will lend itself really well to this pattern. So I have it saved in my Fat Quarter Shop shopping cart. When I can pull the trigger on getting a bundle of that, I'm going to procure that and then start working on this one. I have a feeling it's going to take me a long time. This is not going to be a quick turnaround. I really enjoy EPP because of how slow it goes. It's just I can take my time. Also, I mentioned last week I had been messing around with Shibori dyeing, and I had a bunch of fat quarters last week that I had done, and it was the first run, and some of the colors, like it wasn't my best work. I've done it twice since then, and I have a pattern in mind. I'm going to do a full video on it, but here we have 56, 52 or 56, I can't remember, 8.5-inch blocks that I was able to get some really fun Shibori dyed patterns, and then I dyed a bunch of solids. Well, it's not really solid. Like there's some differentiation in there, but I'm going to use this as sashing, and then I have another 1.5 yards of it that I also dyed that I'm going to use for borders, and then that's it on that one. I got the family favorites. It's too big to hold up, but I've been making progress. All the blocks are done, and I'm just putting the sashing in and sewing those all together, and that one will be done. The quilt top will be done. And then Somebody the other day mentioned that one thing they wish that they did when they were quilting was that they saved a block from each quilt, or had like an extra block or a sample block or something that they wanted, that they could have kept, and they could use that to at some point put them all together and make one big quilt that was showed a block from all of their quilts. Um, I really like that idea. Maybe not so much that there's a block from each quilt, because I don't really like. I mean, I don't really, not that I really don't really like, but I don't really want to redo some of these. But I did watch a video 2 nights ago from Just Get It Done Quilts with a stash busting or scrap busting quilt as you go pattern. And I thought that would be really cool, because some of my quilts I do, well, most of them, I do still have quite a bit of scrap left over that's all the different color patterns. So I've been trying to figure out how I can incorporate those. And I just did a sample one. This is from my Shibori dyed. And this is just scraps that I had left over. And it's a quarter log cabin block that I kind of um, just kind of changed the color up with each row. And it's already quilted. It's already got batting in there. And I could just set that aside. And then at some point I'll have enough of those that I can put together a quilt. I have a pile of scraps from the Grand Canyon quilt, so I'm going to work on that one next. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'm kind of trying to, in my brain, figure out how I could do a mini version of that in an 8.5-inch block, which is going to be a challenge, but I think it'll be fun. So I'm going to work on that one later tonight. And then I couldn't help myself. I started another new project. About a year, shortly after I started quilting, I bought this book, A Year of Quilting, and it's a block for every week, and it incorporates so many different techniques for quilting, which I think is what initially drew me to this book. But then once I got it, it was don't even think I'd finished my first quilt when I got this quilt top, and a lot of techniques were immediately overwhelming, and were immediately like, okay, I'm not ready for that, but I'm ready to try it. So it's a block a week, and I'm super excited. And let me show you my first block. Okay, so the week 1 block is Flying Geese, my favorite. I think these turned out really well, and I'm just going to use scrap for this. Just going to use what I've got in my bin, and I'll put it together, and I think it'll look amazing. I'm trying to kind of keep the blocks to the colors, but these turned out really well. So I tried something different with these Flying Geese, and that with the traditional Flying Geese, right, these are 3.5 by 6.5-inch blocks. It's the size of the finished block is the background piece, and then a 3.5-inch square. So you draw a line, sew, cut, and then fold it up. When I do that, I can never get the sides to be like the full 6.5-inch and the full 3.5-inch. I just couldn't do it. I pressed, I starched, I measured again. I cut as precisely as I could. I only cut away from me. I didn't. I followed every tip that I could find, and I still could not get them to come out straight. So I started cutting a 4-inch block to go on here. It required an extra step. I mean, I guess it didn't really if you just go, but to draw the line on the back, you have to kind of measure up a little bit. But once I figured it out, and I did it once, it was super easy to do the rest of the times. So I started doing a 4-inch block, sewing it on, and then after trimming it down so that I got 3.5-inch by 6.5-inch block, and they turned out way better each time. So moving forward, I think for now, I might do my Flying Geese that way. It's obnoxious because it only works with the one at a time. I haven't figured out how to kind of foolproof doing multiples, but either way, I saw this and I really wanted to start doing it. But this book has a lot of it goes from everything from applique to foundation paper piecing, English paper piecing, um, all of the foundation quilt blocks. You kind of work your way through. So I am super excited to kind of work through that, and it's a block a week. I just got to a point. I'm at a point with the Shibori quilt when I want to lay it out, and I want to make sure all the blocks are where they want to go. But I don't have a design wall, or I don't have any place to hang it up yet. So kind of at a standstill on that one, and without starting a full new like quilting project. I don't have any more fabric ready to go. I don't think. I have a whole stack of patterns that I would love to make, but it is what it is. I'm trying to get through some of these ones that I can bust through some of my scraps to clear up a little bit, make some space. Otherwise, I have a video in the works for the Shibori quilt. I've already started filming a lot of how I did it, how I got the different patterns that are there. Um, I'm super excited to put that together because that's all my own. I didn't follow a pattern for that. I just kind of went for it. So we'll see how that one turns out. But otherwise, thank you for sticking around. And thank you for listening to my update this week. And I'll see you next week.